start our journey by going before the diss track, actually, to a video titled My Apology to Boonslayer, which is 15 minutes of, well, basically this.
Hi guys, I'm Boonslayer, and I want to tell you guys a secret, okay? I am actually a homosexual, alright? I suck the cock. I suck the cock-a-dookie, baby. I suck the cock-a-dookie, baby.
Okay, hold on. That's not entirely true. He does also say during the video that I have a vagina, refer to me as a two-faced bitch, which would imply some sort of betrayal that doesn't exist, but you know, what I was talking about earlier with blaming me for several problems with his channel? He even calls me a dick writer for one of his other detractors in the video as well.
And my lover, my secret lover, my secret boy toy that I bounce up all night, my secret boy toy, we all know him as the Macho King.
For the record, I had no idea who the fuck that was, and, well, the only reason I know now is because the name shows up on his Encyclopedia Dramatica page. Oh, right, there's also right before that. Yeah, if you wanted even more indications that he was inciting his audience to go after me, then, well, here you go.
I am a mastermind. I am a criminal mastermind. And I'm going to take over the internet and make sure people like Green Psycho and Core Margera never ever have a leg to stand on ever again.
This video would be in the same year, by the way, that he declared his intent to leave YouTube. So it's really no wonder that the good taste community latched onto me as part of the cause, even though he said the haters, well, we'll get to his actual wording later, weren't even part of it. He would also mention me not being able to get more than 100 subscribers, and then I got 200 later that year and would jump so far ahead of him about a month later. All of this happening months after I stopped even so much as mentioning him in a video, and with stuff like a co-op with Manga Comment and my coverage of Nearest Q, along with the Powerpuff Girls reboot in general, being major catalysts for my growth. That's going to be a lot more relevant to the next video, but first I want to address something. How do I know when this was uploaded if it's from an archive channel? Simple. Not only is the archived version from shortly after this spike of growth in question that I was just talking about with my own channel, but, well, one of my own videos serves as a reference point for the date that this happened.
Really funny! Just like your video!
Yeah, I actually responded to this video, and that's how my response ends, by the way, so you can tell that I had a positive impression. So yeah, yet another thing that's incredibly easy to find evidence of existing. Another one is a video that Corey made, also in that archive, by the way, titled Ultimate Burial of Boonslayer, that was covered at one point by Doodle Tones, but that video has been disowned and unlisted. So unfortunately, if you were to search for Doodle Tones video on the subject, you wouldn't find it in a search. But then again, you're the one who showed me that it was still up in DM, so I know that you know that it exists. But, I mean, you know what? We're here already. Maybe I should cover the ultimate burial of Boonslayer. It's my burial, after all. I mean, if we're gonna open this pit, we may as well fucking open it, right?
Will you people stop stealing all of my material? Ever since I joined on, I find a commentary material. Everybody else wants to use it. La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. Jeez, it's like I can't get anything done on my own.
That's right, folks. Yet this guy calls me pretentious and egotistical. Yep. Even though he claims that he's basically the originator of commentaries here on YouTube.
Hey, show me on the doll where I fucking said that, Corey. I talked about a specific material that I bring up being covered by other people, specifically in reference to joining a commentary group obviously indicating I'm not the originator if I'm joining a group like 5 videos into my career. And in no way do I say anything about doing anything before someone else. If anything, I'm complaining about other people doing things before me. So figure that one out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the final burial of the Boon faggot.
It was not. Now, I don't remember the exact order of uploads, but there's at least one more verifiable video that for certain comes after this one. That I'll get to later. Oh, also, fuck your intro.
This video contains a lot of strong language from my big green mouth. So if I was you parents, I wouldn't let my children watch any of my videos.
And if I were my viewers, I'd make note of this content warning. You got it? Got it wrapped up in that big smart head of yours? Good. Now I'm gonna skip his actual intro because, look, it's a calm guitar riff that doesn't match with the tone of his content at all, with text and a still image of the character. And I don't give a fish sandwich.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but was that supposed to be a joke?
Yes, it was. And what you cut off was the actual punchline to the joke.
But you thought I was gonna say
And yes, the pause is also part of the joke. Almost like timing is a part of humor inherently. And, you know, it's kind of like the joke you're doing of presenting your video in a similar manner to the commentary videos I make to try and use that as a gotcha, but you don't really do anything to make it a gotcha and just unironically commentate on me. Well, also, by the way, playing a clip from a completely different video and completely butchering the context of it in order to try and poison the well before you begin, I'm going to be pointing out every single time you just randomly change videos with no indication whatsoever of what you're doing, by the way. So I hope anyone watching for the Corey Margera content is ready for the long haul. You know, as though they wouldn't be with a Boonslayer video. Don't look at the timestamp.
And if it was, well then goddamn, dude. It's no wonder you only have a little bit over 100 subscribers. I mean, holy fucking shit. That was almost as bad as John Cena doing the Dougie and the fucking Jack and the Beanstalk joke from Roman Reigns. I mean, seriously.
Ladies and or gentlemen, a point that would have aged like milk if it was any good to begin with. Now, to be fair, not liking the joke is fair. The fish sandwich setup doesn't really work as well as I'd like, kind of falls into the realm of being random for the sake of randomness, and I really had no reason to self-censor here of all places, but here's the problem. You don't actually say what's wrong with the joke like I just did. You just compare it to other things blindly with no regard for why you're making these comparisons. And bear in mind the context of when all this was happening, right? I was leaving a genre that hadn't been doing well for me and moving into a new one that I was noticing traction in, and on top of still finding my footing within that genre at the time, I was also basically operating as a brand new YouTube channel in the way that the algorithm worked. So of course I was going to be small at the time. Using my size to talk about my subscriber count when you have a head start of 2 to 3 years on me within your genre compared to me within my genre is erroneous at best.
Also, you trash Green Psycho's theme song, saying like, oh, it's much more laid back compared to the tone of his videos. Yet you have a fucking Katy Perry theme song for your shitty Boon Cannon piece of shit review series. Like, seriously, that doesn't really match the tone of your videos either. So I wouldn't be one to talk, dumbass.
Okay, so like this is a really specific point I'm making here. It's not even about trashing Green Psycho's intro, so let me say it in more words. Green Psycho had a very high energy presentation with lots of exaggerated movements and an edgy style. It literally puts a graphic on screen that refers to the video as manic mode, crazy personified, and Green Psycho flipping the double bird while a borderline easy listening guitar loop plays. I wasn't saying it was bad, I was saying that it doesn't fucking fit. Let's compare that to my video, which, while using a metal cover that you only know is a Katy Perry song because I fucking told you it was a Katy Perry song the last time you covered me, you literally called it slowed down F-Zero music the first time, by the way. My video didn't have as specifically fast a pace at the time, so it wasn't going to intro with that thrash metal, but I did pick something that had energy to it while also not being overbearing and presented a sort of looming sense of inevitability, which is kind of something I like presenting anyway, even after the fact. But I didn't want to actually use Dark Horse because I both didn't want to deal with the copyright issues and also generally thought that Skylar Khan's instrumental did the job better for the amount of Adam Copeland my channel was going for. If you don't think it fits, fine, that's a perfectly acceptable opinion. But that's not a no room to talk point because it is an entirely different set of issues in regards to how something doesn't fit. So I'm not doing the same thing that Green Psycho is doing here. If anything, according to what you just said, I'm doing the opposite.
The ratings are low.
I'm not normally the type to do this Phoenix Wright thing, but you missed a lot of evidence that proves you're the one full of shit. November 23rd was the first episode of Raw that went below their numbers prior to the Attitude Era, which began in 1996. This show still had the third highest viewership on Monday night over the course of its 3-hour broadcast, only losing to Monday Night Football and Sports Center. If that is your idea of low ratings, then you, my friend, have standards set too high.
No. Actually, you just have your standards set too low. But then again, that's what I expect from someone who claims that the Attitude Era is overrated and has completely shitty taste.
Show me on the doll where I claim the Attitude Era is overrated. I can show you on the doll where I said the ratings were higher in the Attitude Era. Like immediately after the clip you play of me.
Well, it is true that this is lower than what they had in the Attitude Era. While it is true that this is their lowest ratings in years, I would not say that this would be considered an outright failure.
Every critique that I've levied against, well, people like you, is what I'm gonna say to respond to what you're saying right now. But I've said it so many times that I really didn't want to. The Attitude Era was the result of a lot of things. It was the result of the anti-authority stance that popular culture had shifted towards during the late 90s, the competition between WCW and WWE forcing both companies to put more effort into creating more eye-catching product and stars to bounce back and forth between companies, and yes, those efforts in particular being part of the equation. Booking, looser scripting of promos, various other things that were done that are much easier to recreate in a modern world and, in fact, are to some degree, especially right now, but with different results. Streaming wasn't a thing, though, and DVR would literally not even exist until 1999 with TiVo, let alone be as universally accessible as they would be around the end of the Attitude Era, all of which affected television ratings across the board, not just wrestling. This is why part of my point was to talk about how at its lowest, it's still beating almost everything else on TV. It was still one of the most popular things on TV, so to call those ratings low is setting expectations too high if the worst the program does is still better than nearly everything else.
And is also a nerdy white guy who tries to rap.
Weird Al Yankovic, shut up. Also, fun fact, you did a CinemaSin style video on Doodle Tones covering this exact video, so there are were some publicly accessible clips of Doodle's video still online, so that's good. Let me just go ahead and address what you say there while she debunks this point.
I can't rap for shit. I've proven this many times. But white people, as a whole, can rap as well as black people, you fucking racist.
And is also a nerdy white guy who tries to rap. Yeah, I don't hear anything racist with that sentiment. All I was basically explaining was that Boonslayer was a complete fucking nerd who tried to rap. Meaning that he is a fucking nerd, and he does not have any fucking talent.
Once again, Weird Al Yankovic, shut up. Also, if race wasn't part of the point in saying that I can't rap and just the fact that I'm a nerd, which, by the way, entire subgenre of rap, you chucklefuck, you ever heard of Gmo, Ski, or Megaran? Then why even bother bringing up the white part if it's not part of it? See, while you say I'm so-so, I'm actually so deaf to your style. Get some new shit. Bars have you up against the wall like the pool sticks, Hadouken. You can catch every damn thing on the move list on that Ryu shit. Guess who can? You think you can catch a blue flame from a shoryuken? But, you know, I bet you want to call that whack, too. But this is the part where I proved that I was holding back on this fool. Mike P spit that first, I just brought it forward so I can hit you with the sonic boom. Point of doing so being that nerd bars are a frequent occurrence, even in battle rap. All of this comes after your apology to Boonslayer video too, where you said this.
I mean, I'm way funnier than Kevin Hart. Yo, I'm a white man with attitude. Look, I listen to rap music on my channel and everything. I get it popping up in here, son. I gets it popping up in here. Oh, Lordy Lord. Lordy, Lordy Lord. Alright, you messing with a real badass, friendly neighborhood white man right here.
Yeah, funny how you laugh at me for being white while rapping and listening to rap, while literally doing Uncle Tomisms into the microphone at max volume. And yet somehow, when you get called racist, you're suddenly not racist. Even the description on the fucking video shows that this is either intended to be taken as a racist sentiment, or, at the very least, is easy to interpret by your audience, that are the ones who re-uploaded this video, as racially motivated. I know they can't spell hypocritical to save their life, but I'm pretty sure they aren't just posting this video on Wiggler Wednesday. And by the way, that's not the only racist thing you say in the apology video either.
Boonslayer. Boonslayer. I speak like an Asian man now. Me no get no love. Me no get no long time. Me speak like a Japanese Asian now. I'm a Japanese Asian. I'm Boonslayer and I'm a Japanese Asian. Ah, man. Me want cock. Cock and ball in me mouth.
But remember, you didn't say anything racist. Okay, well, technically, I guess it's not actually racism if you're racist against every race, but we'll touch on some of the other racism later. Oh, by the way, while we're on this interjection of your CinemaSins knockoff, let's look at what you show next, which is a clip of the exact song that you put at the beginning of one of your videos. Now, one of the things I've said to criticize you saying I can't rap is that someone who doesn't like the genre wouldn't really know good rap from bad rap in the first place. I have further proof that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to rap with how you play my sample.
I don't need no comments put the station away. Who thinks that he can compare to me? Next rap's got them bony flames. Watch it real close, I slay the game. Tell me, man, are you ready to play? You said that my rap's the fire. Turn woman.
Yeah, you kind of cut me off mid-bar? You actually had a good ending point at the ready to play line, which served as the ending of a 4-bar stanza, which you can tell because of the distinctive flow switch going into the next bar, which, considering the gap that I used there, you could have cut mid-bar in a way that sounded actually clean, but instead you cut me in the middle of half a bar at the most nonsensical timing possible. Not that you were playing an actual 4-bar phrase, but rather coming in midway through the phrase as well. In fact, I'm gonna run through those 4 bars for you genius style. Yeah, not only am I going H-Bomber guy in this video, I'm also going Charlie Clips.
So Mab dropped this mixtape and felt the need to drop my name.
I've highlighted the primary rhyme scheme in blue and the secondary rhyme scheme in red, which will be more apparent in the next line. This is actually a single bar, but because of the amount of space on the beat I had, it was very easy to put the rhyme in the middle of the bar as well, which also serves to make the double time I'm about to do on the next line come across a lot more clearly, and you get your brain ready for it. Also note how when I say need, I don't really enunciate the D very much, which serves to make it fit the rhyme scheme I'm going for a little bit better.
Gotta steady, get ready, Boon's taking aim. I don't need no comments, put the station away.
Yep. 3 colors, and there's a reason I use them here too. I'm using the red rhymes to accentuate the sense of speed in this portion, and you may have noticed that this line actually serves as an incredibly fast pair of lines, with me using this back and forth pacing in order to create an ebb and flow in the rhythm of the track.
Who thinks that he can compare to me? Like rap's got them bony flames.
Somewhat of a filler line, but one that slows down, using the reduced pace of the red rhymes to accentuate that pace change from line to line, with the pause after the first half of the line being used to provide room for the red words at the end of each line to line up with the timing. By the way, this sort of ebb and flow thing is also why this whole thing is 4 bars instead of 8 double time bars.
Watch it real close, I slay the game. Tell me, man, are you ready to play?
This line is a little bit weaker in rhyme scheme, serving as a close to the introductory bars that trades lyrical acrobatics for intensity. Or at the very least, that was my intensity. I'm not 100% happy with the delivery looking back at it. So, why did I do all of that I just did? Simple. To highlight how important that first line is to establishing the rhyme schemes and syllable placement that it uses, with that line being slower on purpose to acclimate the audience to what I'm going to do before dialing up, transitioning away from the lyricism of the third bar and using the fourth to set up where the real disses begin. And it's not like I'm actively thinking about doing this while I'm writing these, by the way, but it's something that my brain is doing, and when I look back on it, I can see what my intent was and what I was doing based on what the lines actually are and, you know, analyzing them, because most of the time you don't actually think about this stuff while you're recording rap. The fact that you cut it off, considering it was done on a beat, whereas your other cut wasn't on beat, was clearly intentional in order to make what I was doing sound worse than it actually was. Either that, or your understanding of rap is so bass-ackwards that you're saying anything about anyone's ability to rap, no matter what it's based on, cannot be taken seriously. And for that matter, your music opinions in general, if you have that little understanding of rhythm. So either you're manipulative, or you don't know what you're talking about. Which one is it? Actually, don't answer that. I already know the answer is both.
I mean, come on. I mean, let's face it. You actually think that the Sandman is a major villain in the fucking Spider-Man universe when he's nothing more than Rikishi of the Spider-Man universe.
This comment is in relation to the comment section of one of his videos, which, again, I don't have the archives, where I actually agree with his point about Amazing Spider-Man 2 not actually being that bad of a movie, and how Spider-Man 3 should have just been a Venom movie. With the caveat on my part that I felt like Sandman should have gotten a separate movie that didn't have anything to do with Venom, while citing reasons that he was an important villain, which I'll admit, that argument was kind of dumb to even engage with on my part, which is why I'm not going to bother rehashing it here, because it's a stupid argument to have. Point being, though, that this really has nothing to do with anything going on in the video thus far. So, you know, just completely irrelevant.
And since we're on the wrestling topic for a second here,
we were already on the wrestling topic, Corey. You're the one who went away from it. You're literally supposed to be covering a video about wrestling right now.
Raw actually used to get higher ratings during the Attitude Era than Monday Night Football. So again, your points are completely invalid and known and void.
Except I was describing the lowest post-Attitude Era ratings at the time. So no, they aren't, especially when my point is expecting the Attitude Era is unrealistic. Thus why the expectations would be too high.
Just like your opinions. That absolutely suck, by the way.
You know, let's forget the fact that Sony doesn't have to work on backwards compatibility, especially considering the fact that their competitors are just now introducing it. And yeah, I know the point is that it should have already been there. I know the point is that he's pissed about that. But that's a dumb point when you don't at least show some kind of gratitude that you might be able to play your older games on your shiny new system.
Gratitude, you say? Why would I show gratitude toward a company that is losing money and could not give two shits about me or their consumers who buy their products? They just want to make a fucking profit.
Okay, so we're changing videos, I guess, to Boon Canon 4, which is where I originally covered Corey. Apparently, your first video responding to that wasn't thorough enough to actually debunk what I had to say. Go figure, it's almost like you spent that entire video making a straw man for what I was saying instead of coming close to addressing what my actual point is. So when you try to bury me, you have to actually play what I'm saying. So, for one, company gives you what you want, and you don't want to show gratitude for getting what you want. Cool, fantastic. Look, if you look at my point from the correct angle here, it is bad. But your response to it is way worse because it takes a whole lot less angle shooting to figure out how bad your point is. Especially when you look at the context in which I make it, because you're citing the backwards compatibility as a reason that Sony was getting fewer sales when it was a feature their competition didn't have. So they were getting it in line with their competition. It's not a disadvantage if none of your competitors are doing it better than you. And I know the thing that you're already trying to say at me. You need to wait a fucking second. But let's talk about Sony losing money in their 2015 fiscal year, which was when both of our videos happened, and both of them during Q4 of that year, so most of the revenue numbers are in by that point. While Sony did lose money in 2014, they also just barely made money in 2015. But to be fair, that's the entirety of Sony, and it looks like the majority of that money was in Japan. Okay, so how was the PS4 specifically doing during this time? Only, becoming one of the most sold video game systems of all time, with year-over-year sales continuing to increase, with the biggest jump being 2 years before we had this discussion. Gee, it's almost like they were doing just fine business-wise. So talking about them losing money here is completely asinine is not the strong enough word for it, I don't think.
Especially when you bring up the fact that the Xbox One is getting backwards compatibility with the 360, and also the fact that the Wii U had it since launch.
So let's just go ahead and start with the Wii U having backwards compatibility since launch. Yeah, that's some competitive edge it gave it, right? The Wii U was actually the worst performing console of that generation, so it's almost like the cost of integrating backwards compatibility on a hardware level actually caused the system to suffer in terms of what it could do with new games. So bringing that up actually serves to shoot your point in the foot. But let's talk about how that seems to contradict what I was saying a moment ago, about Sony's opposition just introducing backwards compatibility. Namely the fact that, well, the Wii U and PS4 weren't treated as competitors. I suppose you could technically say that they were competitors, but Nintendo explicitly stated at the time that they were not trying to compete in the same space as the other two consoles, and were instead intent on continuing to target the casual market. This combined with what I pointed out earlier about how it's not them being behind if their competition isn't doing it. Nintendo's not their competition. The console was even at a much lower price point because it was intended to be a lower end purchase than the PS4. Sony is competing with Microsoft for shelf space in the home, not Nintendo. But that leads me towards the biggest way that even if you take away everything else about how Nintendo isn't really part of this, or how this was them in essence responding to their competition when they were in the lead, just doesn't add up. We're not talking about the same backwards compatibility as what the other two systems either are introducing or already have. Both of those systems were going one generation back, with Xbox One not even getting full backwards compatibility on that front, by the way, and we were talking about the PS4 getting backwards compatibility 2 generations back, to the PS2, to the point where you explicitly wanting them to skip PS3 backwards compatibility was a major point made in my original video on you. Funny how you suddenly want to ignore that. But I know the reason why. And it's not because the PS3 has shitty games or whatever excuse you probably would want to run down the pipeline to sound like you were making a good point, because you know I could have and did debunk that in my fucking sleep. No, it's because you acknowledge the PS3. You would have to admit the reason that Sony didn't have the backwards compatibility out of the box is because of the technical limitations that I brought up in my first video, which you would not have been able to prove me wrong on. So, what do you need to do? You need to twist the context behind what's actually being talked about now that you can't twist my words directly, since you're only playing them now to prove some kind of childish anything you can do, I can do better point, without realizing that in order to pull that off, you actually have to be halfway competent at doing the thing that the other person does.
Oh, wait. I'm not a corporate cocksucker like you. Oh! Silly me. Go figure, right?
So me addressing this right now isn't really specific to Corey saying this here, but Corey sure was the beginning of people trying to call me a corporate stooge, wasn't he? Certainly wasn't the end of it, though. Seems like anytime I remotely defend a decision that a business makes, be it YouTube or Wizards of the Coast or, yeah, Sony, this whole corporate cocksucker thing likes to pop back up. Mostly from people who don't matter or have only heard a single statement of mine and are reacting in the way that the internet outrage machine tends to react to a dissenting opinion. The funny thing is that people who actually follow me would actually be fully aware that this isn't the case. I tend to understand business decisions being business decisions better than a lot of other people, and do my best to not get embroiled in the momentary outrage based on gut reaction, and instead look at situations from a less emotionally charged perspective. But I also tend to be willing to call out businesses when they do stupid shit.
Also, I still have my PS2. So, yeah. Fuck you very much, please.
Okay? That has nothing to do with what I said. You are making a specific complaint about the PS4, and I was responding to it with my own counterpoints. Of course, then there's things from that video you do that point to an even bigger problem with what this might be. So in that video you say that you don't want HD remasters of older games that you already own, and imply that no one should care about them, which I rebut by pointing out that you're not the only person that exists, since you're using this as a point to why the PS4 wasn't getting enough sales, which is also a lie, but I've already gone over that. Then why do you care enough about the PS4 getting backwards compatibility to the point where even hearing a rumor about it is enough for you to make a video about it? Truthfully, I know the real reason. In fact, it's the real reason you responded to me in the first place too, but we'll cross that bridge later down the line. Point is, it contradicts how vehemently you're defending your points and really just makes you look like the dumbest person on the planet. Which, by the way, doesn't take much effort, does it?
Good night.
You're just using me as your personal straw man?
No. Actually, I prefer to make you my own personal Meg Griffin. Seriously, though, what's the difference?
See, this right here. This is part of the reason I was completely done with this shit. There's no weight to any of this. It's also just a personal attack in response to me pointing out how you're saying that I said things that I never said, which is, you know, mature of you.
I love the PS4. I love it. I think it's a great console. Don't get me wrong. You know, but it's lacking in fucking games.
Okay, even removing all of my examples of games that the PS4 has, if it's lacking in games, why do you love it and think it's going to win this console generation? As though that fucking matters. The only way it could is if it's system that has the most game. Which, re-including my examples once again, the Wii U still has more.
Okay there, Boon Boy. Then explain to me why the original Wii was the top-selling console in that generation and not the PS3 or the 360.
Oh, well, let me answer a lot of reasons. For one, lower price point. The Wii was half the price of the cheapest version of the PS3 and $50 less than even the non-HD budget Xbox 360. The total monetary sales, if we assume that all the systems sold for these prices, which they didn't, but this is still very relevant data to point out, would be $25.4 billion for the Wii, $25.71 billion for the 360, and $52.44 billion for the PS3, with those monetary totals directly correlating to the number of games each system had. How very interesting of a statistic is that? Second of all, choosing not to compete with the 360 and the PS3 directly. The intent to not compete with Microsoft and Sony saw its first big success with the Wii, although the practice really started with the GameCube. In particular, when it came to the Wii, though, they released a full year after the PS3 and the 360, who were in an arms race during the holiday season of 2005. This actually directly correlates to the previous console generation. The PS2 released the year before the GameCube and the Xbox, and also came out with higher sales. Although this didn't work for the Wii U, it's still a factor in the Wii's success. Third of all, targeting the casual market, including people that were completely outside of the gaming demographic entirely. They weren't just trying to convince parents that kids would get a lot out of the system. They were trying to convince parents that this was a system the entire family was going to be playing, including grandma, and grandma don't game unless your grandma is Grandma's Got Gaming. That's a reference literally no one that still watches my channel is going to get. The point being that part of the reason the Wii was selling to more homes is because it was targeting more homes. Now, I could go on, but I think I've made my point. There's lots of reasons that have to do with not having the most games. The most relevant to this conversation being that it wasn't actually trying to compete with the other two consoles, but instead trying to fill a niche outside of their sphere of influence, thus serving to both negate your point in terms of answering how the Wii sold more, and showing how comparing the Wii to the PS4 is apples to oranges. At best.
And let's also bring in the fact that the Wii U isn't doing too well right now. It's actually in last place, third place, compared to the PS4 and the Xbox One. And guess what? If the Wii U has more games than the PS4, like you claim, then why isn't the Wii U winning?
Damn, I never been burned that bad before by a piece of wood.
Cool JonTron clip? Pro tip. Come up with a context to make it make sense with what you're doing in the video in the future, and it will actually be something other than lol random media clip. You know, like I did in my video on you. That aside, not important. It sounds like a fair point that you're making here. The Wii U had more games, but it still was not selling as well, likely because the games that it had were not killer apps, thus being a flaw in my logic. However, I can still explain how they can have more games and do worse beyond just quality of titles. For one, the Wii U was more directly targeting the hardcore market, which was a mistake. It put the console in this middle ground where it was too hardcore for the casual gamers and too casual for the hardcore gamers, thus losing that casual market share to primarily the mobile gaming industry. There was also a distinct lack of marketing in general, which definitely didn't help alleviate the confusion over having such a similar name to the Wii, and the fact that although games were coming out, a lot of them were previous generation ports, and it didn't have a whole lot of killer apps, which is really where the biggest hole in my point lies. Except it's not. because we were talking earlier in the video about how the entire industry was going through a gaming drought with a lack of killer apps. The only real difference being that the Wii U's drought continued into 2016 and beyond, while the PS4 and Xbone got more hyped games. Not that any of this would matter, even if I was taking an L on this point, because I'd be taking an L on a point that I actively said in the video didn't fucking matter.
Also, the reason I got a PS4 is because it's going to have the most third-party support along with the Xbox One. And it's also going to have this game, which I'm highly anticipating, and I do not feel like wasting my time building a fucking gaming PC just to be another fucking nerd like you. I would rather just buy a fucking console and call it a fucking day. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I appreciate you answering my question, I guess. But nothing you said really gives the PS4 an edge over the Xbox One. You even point out yourself that third-party support is something both of the systems have, and Doom was not a PS4 exclusive. Of course, we all know the real reason. Brand loyalty. It's not even that there's anything wrong with brand loyalty in this instance, but it proves that your bitching is empty and shallow, and everything you said about me being a corporate cocksucker is just you describing yourself.
Why should they make Half-Life HD Collection or Quake 3 HD Collection? Nearly every PC gamer on the planet already owns these games, so why should they rebuy them?
Okay, the key word there is PC gamer. The PC, not PS4 gamer, not Xbox One gamer, not console gamer, PC gamer. Okay? Yeah, I know Boonslayer is fucking retarded. Yes, this is a fact. But when I brought up the fact that I wanted to see Quake and Half-Life get HD collections for the consoles, not the PC, the consoles. Kind of like how Doom 3 BFG edition came out for the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Not all console gamers had an opportunity to play those games on the PC. Explain it, Alpha Omega Sin.
For anybody out there that's one of those people who's like, I didn't buy a new console to play old games, then don't fucking play them. I don't know what else to fucking tell somebody that says asinine, stupid shit like that. You're like several steps back, like, oh man, are they giving us more options? Well, I fucking hate that. Something that's optional that you have a problem with makes you a fucking idiot. Demanding less when somebody's trying to give you more, something that you're not interested in, doesn't mean shit to all the people that are interested in it.
I was presenting the logic that you were using back to you, which was also the point of when I played the exact clip you're playing when I covered you. This is the most disingenuous argument that's being used to say I'm making a point that I'm making pretty much the opposite of, but rather applying logic to myself to display how shitty that logic is. The fact that you even made this point, this is what I mean when I say you were flopping around like a goldfish instead of making points. You were just flailing about because mommy didn't give you enough attention.
I know a system where the controls are pretty decent for Quake 3.
Congratulations, you're stupid.
And what's funny about all of this is the fact that Boonslayer in his video gets on me for being against HD releases, HD re-releases, when all I'm basically saying is we don't really need them that much if we just had backwards compatibility. I'm not even really saying like, hey, you know what, I don't think any game should be re-released in HD. I think that the games that, you know, console gamers have never had the opportunity to really play or play well with good controls should be released in HD, you know? And for all the bullshit that I'll get for this, you know what? Release games in HD that we already have. But don't expect me to buy them.
I don't. That's the whole point.
You know what's even more optional than the backwards compatibility both of you are talking about? HD collections!
It isn't a product for you. It's a product for people who want that product. Why is that so hard to understand when it's explicitly said?
You know? And I know he's gonna basically say like, well, it's not all about you. I'm Boonslayer. Motherfucker. Okay, I never said I was against anyone else enjoying a game besides me. And you're overrating franchises that people don't really give a shit about, like Uncharted. Stupid. I made that point in my video because I was trying to show how we should have backwards compatibility if we already own these games. Kind of like how Alpha Mega Sin said in that little clip that you showed in your video that I just replayed. I'm not against people trying these games out. I really don't give a fuck. I'm sick of all these HD remakes. I'm like, I already own these games. I just think that if we already own the games, we should have the privilege of being able to play them on our new console.
Oh, speaking of explicitly said, fuck. But also, this was explicitly stated as a point that I generally agreed with, but did not like your attitude in addressing that point, and also wanted to point out the reasons it wasn't already there.
I'm not faulting your intent with this video. I get what you're actually trying to say. Widespread compatibility with PS2 games, and yeah, PS1 games for that matter, that would be nice, would increase system sales. It would influence parents to buy the system for their kids, as a library of games would be in the thousands. Many of them very inexpensive to own. It would give more options to the consumer. But you missed the mark on how you executed your points.
Oh, and you actually did take exception to other people enjoying games, just not directly in reference to HD remaster.
You basically took a shit on a lot of really great franchises that people loved, and you're overrating franchises that people don't really give a shit about, like Uncharted.
Literally telling people what they do and do not care about. So forgive me for thinking that a point like this extends to other aspects of the video, especially since it was less than a minute later in your original video when you said this.
Does that make sense? Probably not to you, because I know you're fucking retarded.
Wow. You know, you're such a cool guy that says cool things. I can't believe how cool you are. So cool. Wish I was that cool.
I find it funny. I find it so funny when you get onto me, when you say that I have bad taste without pointing out what my actual taste is.
Really? Do we even need to go over how pathetic and lame your taste is when you're a fucking corporate cocksucker and you say shit like this?
Dragon Ball!
Wow, congratulations. You have laughed at a clip of me that is intended to be taken as a fucking joke. And for fuck's sake, I'm better at insulting myself than you are at insulting me too? There's an insulting nickname right there you could have used. Nope. Have to just throw slurs. Cool.
In 2008, WWE's television program got its television rating changed to TV PG. What that means is that the show is probably suitable for younger audience. In fact, all WWE did to go PG was tone down the sex and the language, which is perfectly fine.
I legitimately don't know what you're trying to say about this clip. You just play it? Are you saying that me not having an issue with the product being PG is just inherently wrong? Oh no, I'm willing to watch something with less boobies. Fuck off.
It is true that this is lower than what they had in the Attitude Era. While it is true that this is their lowest ratings in years, I would not say that this would be considered an outright failure. It's an indication that they need to change some things that they are in the process of doing, but it's not an indication that the show is completely garbage.
Me saying that the television product should be better means what exactly? Once again, no context. I don't even fully stand by this statement, by the way. Like, dude, if you're gonna quote mine me to make me sound like I have opinions that I don't, at the very least come up with an actual narrative to try to pull when you do it.
opinion was that he was just a cute little teeny bopper, writing cute little teeny bopper songs. Some of them move on to bigger and better things. I saw videos of him at his more sincere, and I felt like he had something going for him.
See, that's better. Yeah, you need to cut out the part where I repeatedly say that I very clearly don't like Justin Bieber, that I was not his target audience, and that I thought he was wasting his talent. Oh, but make sure you leave in the part where I bring up that some artists like this grow out of this stage, implying that this isn't a good place for him to be. You know, sort of implying the things that were cut out and said repeatedly throughout the video. See, that's the thing. You're really bad at this quote mining thing, and you're gonna show how much worse you are at it too.
The beat catches me, and despite how repetitive it is for me, it does bring enough to the table to express itself properly. Not the best song of the year by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the better ones for sure.
Okay, to be fair, this isn't. This is 100% me stating that I kind of enjoyed a single Justin Bieber song. Although I would later rescind this statement, but sure, go ahead, use it against me. I'll just express how I don't feel this way anymore again. I'm not bothered at all by having to clarify that position when I said the opposing position publicly. Sure.
Look, like I said, the video has nothing to do with the song. Except for the part where Justin starts singing it to her for some reason while they're making out. Which I'm sure turned her on.
Did it turn you on, Boonslayer?
Bro, do you seriously want to get onto me for anything when you don't know what sarcasm is? I know my camera had the approximate frame rate of a cheese grater in that video, but I was clearly rolling my eyes. There isn't really anything else in this video worth visiting other than this.
And in all honesty, the guy isn't even that entertaining. I mean, I've seen guys do what he does much, much better. Ben the Looney.
Now that is the best joke you've told all video, possibly on your entire channel. Oh, wait, that's right. This is you being serious. Yeah, no wonder you don't like me. Your view of what a YouTuber is stuck so far up 2008's ass, you're finding votes for Ralph Nader while singing about your bleeding love, which I'll let you interpret as whatever kind of offensive gay joke that you would like to. Especially since Ben's whole shtick in his intro is an appeal to nostalgia, whereas based on everything you've said about me, that's not even close to what I portray, but I digress. If anything, I fall much more into the trappings of the cult of the new, especially at the time. That's something I've noticed a lot with you and the good taste community, actually. Lots of preferential treatment towards the past, and anything that happens to be in the present day just plain isn't as good, and at best, with no qualitative merits for such an opinion are expressed, and at worst, outright stating that it's solely based on popularity and or the fact that it is from your childhood, the thing that's good. Most of the time, either singular images on screen or literally some kind of call without even so much as webcams or a screen share of some kind of video game gameplay, or even, you know, reading off something else that you're reacting to like some other streamers. No actual jokes, just sitting there rambling about shit, making something that you claim is a joke but has so little punch that even Elena from Street Fighter has more. So it makes sense that if anyone actually understands that time moves forward, that becomes a fucking problem for you. And by the way, that's going to be relevant to something that you say later. Now, I did say later, so some of you may have already figured out that this isn't the end. Which doesn't really make sense, because this is the ultimate burial, right? If I'm ultimately buried, then even if I attempt to clap back, which I didn't, there should be no need for a fourth response. Yeah, apparently you'd be wrong about that.
It's amazing how my haters can get so easily fucking duped. It's absolutely amazing. You guys bought this thing hook, line, and sinker. This is why the taste god will always be superior to you pathetic peasant haters. Because you constantly waste your time whining and bitching. Oh, the taste god, no, oh my god, no, I'm gonna make a rap about him. I'm gonna get my shitty little commentary community on him, and then I'm gonna get a bunch of fake communists, and we at Booze, we're gonna make fun of him. Oh my god, yay.
I needed to play this whole thing because, well, until the make a rap about him, it wasn't clear that he was talking about me. Because I wasn't even his latest enemy when this came out. So, for one, I didn't tell anyone to go after you. Hell, Doodle covering you was her decision. I didn't even send her the video. The whole reason I was a script checker was because of the fact that I was covered. But, hey, fine. You have some kind of evidence that indicates how I could have done it, weak as it is. And to be fair, I'm not going to make the same arguments about you. You didn't directly tell them to come after me, make videos where they were literally asking me to talk about them when I was refusing to do so, and repeat the Corey-owned Boon rhetoric to my face enough that most people would have outright broken. But let's get back to that hook, line, and sinker part.
Sad. Pathetic. I mean, that's just proof right there. You guys do not have the intellectual superiority as the taste god. It's fact. I mean, all I can do is create one of the greatest YouTube characters of all time. One of the most underrated YouTube characters of all time, the taste god. And you guys can get so easily fucking butthurt over it. I think it's real. And then waste so many precious hours of your life, quote unquote, just to think that you've owned me.
Are you sure about that? Are you, like, absolutely sure? I'm not going to get into the mindsets of other people, but let's talk about this statement right here. When did I claim your character was the real you? Even when you say that it's a character, my rebuttal to that is very simple. It's a bad character. When I talk about the taste god character, I talk about how that character is flawed. And there's likely some kind of truth to the opinions you express, even if you don't truly think of them as facts, but just do so as part of your character. But either way, I'm either debunking the underlying opinion with evidence in order to do so, or I'm indicating another way in which the character you're playing is flawed. And for that matter, Doodle even called out in her video the possibility that you might be a troll, thus indicating she was not falling for the act, which you debunk like this.
So from one bandwagon to another, I present to you Corey Margera, a guy who may or may not be a troll, but for the purpose of this video, I will treat it as not a troll to see how it ends, because Pozla is a bitch.
Too stupid to realize that this is all entertainment and work.
You know, ignoring the fact that she didn't even say you weren't a troll, just that she was going to act like you weren't for the purposes of making the video, because it's simpler to do so. Hell, she even cites the very idea that shows why that's an uncertainty. Poe's Law says that a parodic expression of extreme views, a work, is easy to mistake for a sincere expression of those beliefs. She's literally saying here she thinks it's more likely that you are a troll than that you are not. And here's the thing. I didn't show any animosity towards you when I covered you the first 2 times, but after that, the whole rap you want to talk about, all that anger I showed, I put a bookmark in chapter 1 of Boon Canon 60 about how I enjoy playing up my anger and projecting it in a way that's entertaining. So, Corey, what the fuck does that tell you about what I was doing? What does that tell you about how your work wasn't getting the shoot reaction you thought it was? And you thought I gave a fuck about owning you? No. Just because I levied criticisms towards you, you actually think I gave a rat's ass if you wanted to clap back. I was working you, you fucking mark. I even pointed out in my diss track how fans of yours started subscribing to me at the time, going into the comment section and pointing out how even if they did like you, I had a point. I wasn't picking fights with you on purpose, but I damn sure was willing to take advantage of the fact that you wanted to swing when all you could do is flail around. You know, like a goldfish forcefully ejected from its bowl. And I jabbed back at you with worked strikes so that you would think that you could beat me if you could just land a blow. This last video's existence proves that you didn't work me into any kind of shoot. Nah, bet you got it the wrong way around. I worked you into a shoot.
I find it funny. I find it really hilarious.
I find it hilarious! I find it hilarious how you called me a pathetic loser! A pathetic piece of shit! I find it really funny!
Because you guys are absolute child abortions. You are complete failures who do not see the genius in the taste god himself. He has risen and he has completely owned your fucking asses. I mean, how else can you explain a bunch of fake trolls who call themselves the commentary community making videos of your Lord and Savior himself?
Because we've also got content to make, dumbass. And if you're working us so hard, why do you care this much about the fact that a bunch of fake trolls, your words that are going to be pretty relevant later actually, are talking about you? Shouldn't you want that clout? Shouldn't you want people to be spreading your name, getting others to see your videos, and letting them see how amazing the Taste God character really is? Or maybe the reason you have a problem with it is because the attention is exposing the fact that your character is shit to people you really don't want being aware of that, and we're the ones who are getting the clout beyond what you ever had to begin with, because we moved on when it was time to move on. Something I'll address in a little bit.
I mean, how can you explain it? How can you... I mean, it must really take severe butthurt. Severe butthurt. Just to make commentary on Taste God.
Not really, because a commentary involves playing someone's points and responding to them, and if the points are bad, it doesn't fucking matter what kind of god you call yourself. If the point is trash, the point is trash, and I'm in a community that supports criticism and honesty. Nah, what would really take a lot of butthurt is to make a shitty-ass sketch where you impersonate the person, put words in their mouth, and then proceed to pretend you're killing them in your video. What would really take a lot of butthurt is to literally make a video saying you are ultimately burying someone. What would really take a lot of butthurt is literally stealing their content in its entirety to play at the beginning of your video with zero context solely so you can call it trash with no form of actual critique. What would really take a lot of butthurt is to make a video titled an apology and fill it with slurs, racist stereotypes, and harassment. What would really take a lot of butthurt? Waiting until someone says they are done talking about you in public to call it a work.
I hate to be Deadpool, Wade Wilson. I hate to be another CM Punk or Vince Russo and break kayfabe and break the fourth wall here. But this was all a fucking work, and you fell for it hook, line, and sinker. You fell for a great and awesome, truly entertaining character that I created. And you got so butthurt that you're actually going to make Margera month. You're actually going to make Margera month.
Yeah, I don't remember what this is. Probably because I have nothing to do with it. So, most likely something someone else did that he's attributing to me, I guess. Cool.
Truth of the matter is, go ahead. You actually think I care? I mean, if anything, I'm gonna get more subscribers. That's gonna boost my popularity. This is Margera. See, you people have such a small mindset, and this is why you fail.
Meanwhile, if anyone does anything in relation to you, it is automatically the responsibility of everyone that does something in relation to you. I've shown so much proof that the entire reason you're bringing this up in relation to me is to make me responsible for the actions of both people I do know that are acting independently of me, and people I have never heard of before that happen to also not like you. This is what a small mindset is. Someone who cannot recognize that different people can do the same thing and not, in fact, be a conspiracy against you.
You fail on so many different levels because you do not see the genius in the taste god. You do not see what he's doing. I'm toying with your minds. You're my little puppy dog bitches. You're my little puppets. You're literally taking this way too seriously.
Assuming I'm taking you seriously at all. Like, you do know the fact that I did a diss track on you was because of the fact that I wanted to piss you off, right? I chose a medium that you hated from someone that you hated using that medium, and I even pointed out how you'd probably give a response in the song. And what did you do? So, who's working who again?
And I'm just enjoying the ride. I mean, you really got to ask yourself, though. You really have to, use your brain and think about it and ask yourself, why would such a butthurt, no-life loser make a commentary on Cory Margera? Why would they all want to write scripts and stuff? Like this is a screenplay. Like they're gonna give this to Hollywood. This is just YouTube. You know that, right? You're literally writing a script just to own something that has already owned you.
I don't need to tell everybody that I owned you. I don't need to gather a bunch of fucking lackeys to tell people that I owned you. I don't need it shouted all over the place that I owned Cory Margera. Do you know why? The evidence shows what's happened, and the people who would deny what happened are worshiping at the altar of a wannabe cult leader, hiding behind this veneer of playing a character. I also like how you think writing a script is a sign that someone is butthurt, as though someone planning what they said beforehand is somehow more reactionary than something completely improvised. And a lot of the time, I don't even stick with the exact wording in the script, but just use it as a guideline. But it allows me to expand my style to include things that wouldn't come across very well in an unscripted video. Like skits involving multiple characters. And even then, I managed to do that unscripted better than you. Look at the story segment throughout this entire commentary, the majority of which have no script whatsoever. Oh, it also prevents me from having dead air that you can drive a 747 through, like what I've been cutting out through this video of yours. Oh, also, Apology Accepted was unscripted and still didn't have pauses like that. Funny how many different ways I can do your style better than you, huh?
I mean, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Guys, seriously, dude, bro, seriously, think about it. You've been duped. You have been completely duped. You are now going to make Margera mum because you are so butthurt that the facts and the good taste that I spread is actually starting to gain attention. And you hate it so much. You guys hate it so much. I mean, even a certain king who's actually a queen who likes transvestites, and he's a failure. He doesn't even show his face or make videos. He's so butthurt. He's going to align himself with nerds that he probably doesn't even like.
And yet in the Apologia video, you call that person my secret husband. This is another problem. So many of the things that you say contradict one another, and what you wind up doing is changing your story when the old one is called out. And this goes back to, well, it not necessarily being believable that this is a work. I called out the character of the Taste God immediately. It was maybe the second thing I said about you. If all of this was a work, then why did it take you, at best, 5 videos to say that? I mean, I say at best 5 because the video where you play the entirety of the map station takedown at the beginning it still existed, but just hasn't been re-uploaded. And I don't even know how many other videos you brought me up in that came before the Doodle video. So when I'm able to debunk your points pretty damn clearly and then move on, talk about other people, and continue growing, apparently I got owned? Right, fuck off then.
He doesn't even probably like. He's gonna align himself with you. He's gonna align himself with Doodle Tones. I mean, come on. What person in their right mind would name themselves Doodle Tones? Unless they were a troll.
Someone who likes both music and art? Now, Cancer the Weeaboo, that's a name someone would only use if they were a troll.
I mean, think about that for a second. And also, the fact that you have been duped so much. That you have to thumbs down my videos, and you get so butthurt. You hate me so much.
You're making a 12-minute video talking about someone being butthurt. A thumbs down button ain't shit, guy. It takes like 2 seconds. If that long. You sure do care a lot about other people clicking a single fucking button for someone who isn't butthurt themselves.
I tingle your soul so much. I'm in your head. I'm in your head. You think this is all real, and I'm in your head. Because guess what? I'm old school.
Thank you for confirming your nostalgia blindness, I guess. Cool.
I don't believe in half-ass trolling. I believe in actually doing a complete good job. I believe in actually making it convincing. I believe in making you get on your fucking keyboards like the keyboard warriors that you are and spread the hate. Type and it's not even hate. It's not even like fuck you, Corey, you suck, Corey. It's literal essay comments. You got literally, guys, literally, you guys write essay long comments like this is a research paper for your homework assignment or for your project or something like that. You literally type in the comment section like these essay long, and then you thumbs down, and then you write scripts. I am in control of your life. I'm making your life actually relevant. Because without me, you guys would just look for another troll who obviously sucks.
But wait, weren't we trolls earlier? See, this is what I mean when I talk about you shifting the goalposts, and this isn't even over the course of multiple videos. If you're wanting your trolling to spread by making it believable, then why wouldn't we be doing the same thing? What you just said just creates a symbiosis. You come for your detractors because you want to troll people. Your detractors come for you because they want to troll you. It's I would say a no-win situation, but I guess technically a win-win situation. And they know they'll get a reaction from you if they hit your buttons. Again, it's why I made a rap song to end my involvement. I knew it would get a response from you because you hate rap and you've shown that you were stalking my channel for literally anything that you could use to make fun of me. Especially if it involves me rapping.
Like Eddie the Scammer. You actually think that you're dealing with someone who, lack of a better term, gives a shit?
Well, you keep talking about it. So you clearly do. At the very least, you think it's good for your character's image to continue responding, so at the very least, you find it to be good publicity.
You know, a certain Meg Griffin lookalike actually told me that if I continue this, it's not going to end well for me. Well, that's your prerogative. However, let me tell you something. This has already not ended well for you, because you guys are literally hard at work with your little quote-unquote commentary community, looking for a way to get me off the internet.
Okay, so there's a reason I had to play him making this exact joke earlier. It's to establish that any mentions of Meg Griffin that he's making are him directly addressing me. Remember when I said that I wasn't going to tell people that you sent your fans after me, Corey? Now I am. It was actually not too long after this that you would decide on your own to delete your channel. Well, we'll get to that later. But when you tell your fans that I'm trying to get you off the internet, and then you leave the internet, who are they going to blame it on? Who are they going to assume caused their Lord and Savior of good taste to make his exit? You created a cult that worshipped your every move on this site, and then when you couldn't make things happen the way you wanted, you took the one action that you could to sick them on me.
Your butthurt is just so amazing. It's amazing how I can make you guys dance. How I can make you write all these long comments. Like you just took a long shit with these long essay comments and just bitch and moan. You're not the taste guy. Fuck you. Your opinion is subjective. You're not bringing up facts. You can't even argue with my academic resources and all this fiddly do nonsense. This is a bunch of nonsense.
You mean because we know how to use fucking Google? Seriously, finding an accredited source for my claim took like 5 seconds to do. You really act like it's taking a ton of my time when really I was just doing the bare minimum of journalistic integrity. You can ask just about anyone around me too. I write and talk in paragraphs most of the time. You can call that nerdy, I don't really give a fuck. But you think that I'm obsessed with you because I'm doing it? No. It's just the way I operate in general. You're not getting any kind of special treatment from me, no matter how much you clearly actually think you're the center of the universe, based on what you're saying here, when you're saying that now you're shooting.
Ah, man. Guess what, Meg Griffin? I am owning you just like Vince Russo owned Jim Cornette. Because Jim Cornette, he still, to this day, if you watch his U-shoots, has nightmares about Vince Russo. He has dreams about killing Vince Russo because he was so butthurt that his ideas were out of date. He got so butthurt with Vince Russo that he literally couldn't take it. He started having dreams about him. He would trash him in every shoot interview because guess what? Vince Russo owned his mind. Just like I'm owning yours.
I just want to come back to Efron real quick. Do you understand it yet? Do you understand why I don't want to talk about what this guy did? Because he's literally creating a scenario where I lose no matter what I do. If I ignore it, then his good taste cult continues as they have been doing with me because, well, he's already established I'm apparently trying to get him off the internet, so when it actually happens, they'll come for me, no question. He even came back to YouTube at one point, said he didn't want old dramas to be involved, and then left again. I did see him, but I left him alone. His fans didn't leave me alone, by the way. I don't know if Corey actually wanted to move on from old drama or not, to be quite frank with you. I don't know if he came back just to see what kind of damage he'd done to try to make it stop, or this, and, well, everything else about his departures from YouTube were completely unrelated. So, I'm not going to say that he left with the intent on using that to incite hate onto me, because it's honestly more likely that he didn't, in my eyes. It's more likely to me that when I stopped talking about him, he had one last thing to say and was done talking about me at that point. But with what those final words actually were, I can honestly say that the intent to have people continue coming after me was clear, even if him leaving wasn't part of that plan. as is the real source of the continued hate, but we're not quite done with Corey himself yet. I've got a couple more things to say about his comments. The comparison to Jim Cornette and Vince Russo is very interesting, too. See, Jim Cornette's ideas were mostly out of date in 1997 when the whole feud between the two of them started, and he continues to be the old man shouting at clouds in the wrestling community, which I've never been. Actually, funnily enough, given my comparison to you being stuck in the past and me falling into the whole cult of the new thing based on what was going on at the time, you were the one who was more like Jim Cornette in the whole situation. And I wasn't even Vince Russo. I was more like Kenny Omega. But enough about that, because unlike you, I'm not going to compare myself to a booker while trying to put over my own goddamn feud like I'm Vern Gagne. And I'm not going to go the easy route and say I'm much more like Dave Meltzer because I'm a journalist. I'm barely a journalist. No. I should compare myself to the actual talent. Something that you can't do because you don't have any. But I'm a lot more like Chris Jericho. Perpetually reinventing myself and getting over damn near everything I do. It's why I keep stealing his catchphrases. For fuck's sake, I even got over a rock at one point, but I digress. Vince Russo, meanwhile, represents you in at least one way other than what I just said. Both of you have dead careers. Only difference is that Russo's was actually worth a damn at one point.
It's gonna get to a point where you're literally gonna lose control. You're gonna be, I'm the Joker to your Batman. See, you guys, you think you're smart. You think you're smart. Yeah, like the Joker, I'm just trolling with you. I'm just toying with you.
That's a very interesting comparison. Idolizing the Joker, the obsession with nostalgia, the straight edge shirt in spite of the constant lusting over porn stars. It's time to discuss what the good taste community really is. Other than, dead. The good taste community is in reality a subsection of the MGTOW movement, or men going their own way, which is essentially a collection of male-centric alt-right movements. Notably, a lot of these groups are like the most homosexual sounding concepts ever, and yet somehow hate gay people. This is part of the reason they think saying that I have a vagina is a sick burn. And modern MGTOW was actually popularized by the rise of Milo Yiannopoulos in 2014, which coincidentally coincides with the first return of Corey Margera, as recorded on Encyclopedia Dramatica. Corey's departure from YouTube coincides with the presidential campaign of Donald Trump, during which a lot of the alt-right sentiment kind of got folded together. So, what with the MGTOW market at its height, you'd think that this would be a great time for Corey, but about that.
It just fucking sucks. And, the people fucking suck. There's too many fucking goddamn children on here. Too many fucking trolls and just stupid shit. I'm not leaving because of the trolls, but I'm just, it's like, I've been on YouTube for a while now, and it's like, I'll be honest with you, I deserve better. YouTube just isn't that good.
Oh, no, it's not the trolls. But you still want to bring them up as part of the reason. And based on the rest of it, sure does sound like entitlement over the fact that there are too many people that don't like you here. This could very well be a slip of a mask on his part, but the fact of the matter is that this only served to accentuate me being the instigator of Corey Margera leaving. And I won't lie, I did eventually kind of lean into being the guy who took out Corey Margera, but factually speaking, him leaving was so far removed from anything I ever said about him that it's not realistic to treat that as, to put it in Corey's words, a scientifically proven fact. But back on topic. When the alt-right candidate got the Republican nomination and even the presidency, it was a perfect time for someone who fit into that mold to come back. Claimed to not want old drama to come back up, but would quit again within a few months when no one showed up to start issues with him. Possibly expecting to bait out this whole idea of me having nightmares about him. He also did this, by the way, during a different drama that was actually damaging my reputation, so it would have been a really good time for him to pull some shit. But during all this, the comments about me continued. Not even the return of their MGTOW taste god would stop these people from continuing with me. But you know what did? You know what did stop them? Boon Cannon 49. The very video you, Ephraim, are covering. The very video where I broke silence about the people continuing to come for me with this Cory Margera shit. Now, the unfortunate thing about all this, though, is that I don't have much more archives, since if I did, I'd probably have a lot more to talk about. I'd have other channels that were continuing harassment of me, Cory's continued harassment of me, where he even claims that I would obsess over him behind the scenes, thus showing more evidence of his intent to make sure that I can't move on even if I want to, and tons of things to, you know, just really make sure that this video could reach the 12-hour mark a lot easier, if not way longer than that, because spite. In fact, removing the evidence of this stuff is still a recurring theme with these people, since a ton of the Margera archives were set to private. Interestingly, every video that was originally uploaded after Boon Cannon 4, within a week or two of the original upload of Chapter 3 of this video, where I directly say I'm going to talk about the good taste community. Yet more hiding evidence, completely unaware of the fact that, maybe I already have it saved if I'm declaring my intent ahead of time and calling the whole thing Boon Cannon 60. There have actually been several archive channels that have come, gone, still remained up, but sadly it seems a lot of the stuff related to me, other than some cringy wrestling gameplay videos involving me, Doodle Tones, and Dollsmick for some reason, getting beat up, don't seem to be there. In fact, I could have sworn there was a specific archive channel with some of Cory's stuff on it, but I guess that got removed for hate speech according to a post I found on a DeviantArt of a fan who drew some art of him. Which really goes to further prove the relationship to a known hate speech group, and also provide a possible explanation for why a lot of the known members of the good taste community have disappeared. In fact, hold on. I talked about the DeviantArt post, but I didn't show the screenshot. So I'm sorry. I should have shown the screenshot. So here you go. What? Wait a minute. Hold up. Now, y'all don't think. Oh my god, it absolutely is him. Hey, Sladester? You listening? Probably not. After all, you probably do not want to hear what I have to say, if you're even still around and haven't just, you know, left, as is the pattern for people in the good taste community. I hope what I said here was able to help you understand a little bit better why Cory's not someone you should be following the example of. And legitimately, part of my concern here, especially when you see something like this, is how parasocial all of this is. Very similar to someone else we've been having problems with somewhat recently. This is especially bad because, well, if you look at the language he uses and the way he wanted to talk about me in particular, this is an element that you stated that you were happy about, while elsewhere on your DeviantArt talking about how you want your page to be a safe space for LGBT and how you want to be friendly towards people on the spectrum. But that's clearly not what he's doing when you see how he talks to me. So when I say corrupted, I do mean it. It doesn't mean it's impossible to undo that corruption, but, well, the first step of that is being fully aware and cognizant that this corruption exists. But then there's the BitChute mention that kind of calls the little redemption arc into question. I mean, not only are you touting his presence on a known alt-right safe haven and a place known for being an alt-right safe haven? But let me put it to you like this. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find the channel you're talking about, but you know what I did find? 2 channels that have a small portion of Corey's old content. One called Bad Taste Negro, that is on a channel that is pretty much re-uploads of a ton of other racist shit, and I Hate New Jersey, a very small channel that hosts some of Corey Margera's other anti-black content, almost like it's being used as a safe haven for racially charged rhetoric. Yeah. I wonder what about the archive channel you mentioned got flagged for hate speech over. Could it be videos like these? And here's the overload. Not even the kicker at this point. You knew all of this. The comments about my sexuality? You knew about those. You cited what he had to say about me as something you specifically enjoyed about Corey's content. I admittedly don't know what of Corey's content you were watching on BitChute since it's no longer there, but based on what is still there, it seems like what you were going to BitChute for is a lot of the same. You are intentionally following a homophobic, racist, misogynist cunt that leans so far to the right, in spite of saying that he hates Donald Trump, that the only place he can call home is where the people who decided that a coup was a good response to losing an election were gathering. Oh. And, for those of you wondering, the good taste community isn't dead. I lied to you earlier. They've just moved to Facebook. You know, place that's known for real good moderation. I can't see what they're doing, and for all I know, they're still talking about shit about me in there. In fact, it's very probable considering what happened during the release of Boon Canon 60. I can almost guarantee it, as a matter of fact. That's half of what they exist to do at this point. You know, originally I was going to put here that I don't really care. They can do whatever the fuck they want as long as they leave me alone. But I thought about it more, and I'm not fully sure that I stand behind that. I mean, I do want them to leave me alone. If they want to shit talk me in their little circle jerk, then I'm not going to do shit about it, because the fact that they're too much of cowards to say it to my face, now that I've shown that I still got teeth, says more than the bite those teeth have, if you catch my drift. But that seems to be a recurring pattern, doesn't it? The whole reason I have less evidence is because of how quick y'all dip the second I even so much as fucking glance in your direction. At the very least, on an individual basis. And arguably, on a collective basis, too. But as a collective, you're cockroaches who are somehow less useful to society than that statement implies, that solely exist to be edgelords that were rejected by all the other edgelord communities for being too soft. You have no wit, you have no bite, you have no balls, and to be quite frank with you, I'm personally offended at myself for ever letting a gaggle of Columbine cosplaying chucklefucks make me feel like I was pushed into a corner instead of reminding you skeletons of society why it wasn't me who put the Slayer in my name! I want you to leave me alone. Because dealing with you is tiresome and, quite frankly, just not worth my time. That would honestly be great. It's raining blood if you don't. So, Ephraim, is that enough fucking context for you? A lot of which was very easy to find? Have I flogged myself enough for you to be able to continue watching this video? Fantastic.
Then I'd like to move on, please.